It's all been leading to this. One of these 4 bottles is about to become my whiskey of the year for 2024. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that's right, it all comes down to this. We have narrowed it down to our last 4 bottles, the final 4, for our whiskey of the year bracket in 2024. I know it's 2025 now, but we're still glorying in these wonderful bottles from last year. So if you haven't been following along, we did take our top 16 whiskeys of the year, broke those down into 4 groups of 4. We had 1 winner advance from each of those 4 rounds. And now we are into the final round. These are those bottles, and we're about to discover our whiskey of the year. So these are the ones. These are the ones that made it through the ringer, have earned their place in the final 4, and now we get to taste them once again. Honestly, some of the best whiskey I've ever had in my life is sitting before me. So let's talk about the contenders. First of all, we've got Russell's Reserve 15. Pretty much most people's front runner for whiskey of the year that I've heard around the whiskey tube community, and just the buzz around this bottle has been amazing. That's because the whiskey itself is amazing. It's just incredible stuff. Then we've got Michter's 10 Rye, which has become one of my favorite kind of lines in all of whiskey. Whatever Michter's does with their 10-year-old rye that they're sourcing, oh my gosh, it's right up my alley. All right, next we've got the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged for 2024. This was sort of a new unicorn bottle in 2023. 2024 followed up with a really strong showing. This is 13-year-old whiskey and 12-year-old whiskey mixed together from Maker's, some of the oldest stuff they've ever done, and it's delicious. And then we've got maybe the most beautiful bottle you'll ever see, the Old Fitzgerald, very, very special 13-year-old release. This commemorates the 25th anniversary of them buying up Old Fitz at Heaven Hill. Exclusive, only available in Kentucky or at the distillery, and man, it's just so good. It harkens back to a different era of whiskey and 100% deserves its place in this lineup. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna clear off these bottles, we'll dive into the blind, and we'll determine our whiskey of the year. 1 jump cut later, and we're ready to roll. We'll start down on my right, your left, and we'll call this glass A, and then we'll work our way down to glass D. Oh, I am so excited. All right, we'll begin as always on the nose. Oh gosh, this is gonna be so much fun. This is nice and fresh, fruity, maybe a little citrusy. Yeah, it's got like a zest to it. Vanilla and oak though, for sure. Strong vanilla. Almost creme brulee-esque. Caramel, vanilla, oak. And then a citrus pop and freshness. Good color on this one. Almost no ethanol that I'm detecting on the nose, which is great. Maybe a brighter berry, like a cherry, but it's leaning more into that zestiness and citrus pop. Spectacular. A truly spectacular nose. I think all of these are gonna kind of fall into that category, which is great. So we're just going into glass B. Ooh, this is very different, which is good. More plum and raisin. Dark sugars compared to glass A, which is a little bit brighter and more pop. It's dense. It's almost got a coolness to it. You know, some bourbons give off heat, some bourbons give off zest. This one's almost dense and kind of dark, and you got to dig a little bit into it, but then it really presents some flavors or aromas. Chocolate, toasted sugar too. Yeah, kind of like a toasted brown sugar, slight marshmallow effect on that one. Also very, very good. All right, let's go into glass C. Ooh. This is the lightest and brightest of all of them. So far, at least. Yeah, it's got like a... This really has a zestiness. Part of me thought glass A with the zestiness could be a rye leaning experience, but this one's really giving that off. Lighter vanilla, citrus pop, lemon zest, brown sugary core. But it has a freshness to it that does sort of speak of rye. We'll see how that one continues to develop and maybe if it continues to stand out among the line. All right, let's go into glass D on the nose. Ooh. Yeah, this is a little musty. You get some spinning on the glass there. Yeah, cherry, jam, oak. Pretty dark, rich oak. This one's got a little punch to it. Blackberry. Yeah, something dark and pitted and just a touch acidic, but kind of balanced out by the oak and sweetness. That one's powerful. All right, I'm curious what glass A is. That's okay. More oak than maybe I gave it credit for at the start, and it's opened up a little bit. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna dive into the palate. We will get that full experience and certainly learn a lot more about these whiskeys. In terms of something I'm leaning towards, I think glass A is pretty special on the nose. That really set the tone, and I'm not sure any of these other ones topped it. It's just very, very good. All right, let's go in on the palate. Cheers. Yeah, that is good. It just keeps going too. Didn't feel super high proof, but it does have a spiciness to it. Big barrel presence, barrel char, almost cigar-like spice to this one. Leather on the back end, I can feel it drying out my palate a little bit, but that's balanced out by fruitiness. That's balanced out by some sort of raspberry, yeah, kind of juicy raspberry sweetness. Big caramel dose too, just a really almost like dark burnt caramel that gave this one a nice strain of sweetness and a little maybe even like smokiness and along with the oak in the middle of the sip. Special whiskey, as all of these are, but just gotta praise it. It's very, very good, and the finish with the sweetness kind of lingers, and then the leather is really there. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit of water between each of these sips, so let me do that, and then we'll jump into glass B. Okay, let's dive into glass B. Yeah, this one's floral too on the nose, or at least gives me that essence. All right, cheers. Wow, that is sweet. Like a sugar cookie, dusting, coating of sugar all over this, a light brown sugar. Just delicious. But then there's these dark, like sort of fruity, almost slightly acidic notes, like a plum, which I think I detected a little bit on the nose, but really comes through on the palate. Kind of raisiny as well. But it's that brown sugar, I think, that just really coats this one. And then a little tiny bit of that, whatever the floral pop is that I was getting on the nose, did show up on the back end. But again, this is sort of this ultimately a very sugar cookie, brown sugar experience for me. Okay, moving right along to glass C. Oh yeah. Very bright. Cheers. Yeah. Definitely got that more herbal essence of a rye to it. It's delicious. Orange zest and lemon zest coming through. big vanilla note, and it has this lighter caramel that just kind of goes through the entire sip. And along with that, compared to these other two, which have had a little darker oak, this has a slightly younger oak feel. Not super youthful though. I don't want to give you the impression that it's like, oh, I'm tasting a 2-year-old whiskey and I can taste woodiness. It's oak. It's a little lighter and brighter, kind of complementing that more herbal and caramel experience. Delicious, refreshing in the mouth even, like leaves you feeling refreshed, where these other two are a little bit more dense and drying. This one's kind of makes me salivate a little bit on the finish. Very, very good. Felt a little lower proof too, but didn't lack flavor. All right, let's move to glass D. So glass D definitely had, oh man. I think she needed a little time to open up, because now it's like pancakes and oak, like big, beautiful oak. All right, cheers. Wow. Oh yeah. That thing just keeps going. I mean, the oak, that's the center of it, and it's unbelievable. Just kind of the perfect amount of oak. Like, you know you're drinking something well-aged. Power to it. Fades into this caramel, a little bit of chocolate, and big black cherry note for me. Dark and rich. And then continues to have a little bit of vanilla sweetness on the back end with that black cherry. And even the slightest bit of nuttiness, like a darker nut. Maybe it's a roasted kind of peanut or like a walnut experience. It's just dark and rich all the way through. All right, so that's a great first run through. I am gonna go back in reverse order and then do some A/B testing. Probably gonna take me a little while to really think through what my favorite is here. So I will fast forward through all of that for you guys, and we'll just cut right to revealing the winners. To give you a sense of maybe what I'm thinking, I think Glass A is standing out on the nose. I think Glass D is standing out on the palate. We will see how everything develops. But let's get into it, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, everybody, we're back. I've gone through, done all my testing, and I've got my definitive order. It definitely took a little while, but how can you not take your time with these whiskeys when they're this good? Big caveat to the order is just, obviously all of these went through the entire bracket and did amazing, and they're all fantastic. So it's not like I want to nitpick or criticize these. Let's just celebrate that these are awesome whiskeys, but there does have to be a winner and a loser. Okay, so in fourth place for me, ultimately tonight, was Glass C. I felt like this nose was spectacular, the way it jumps out of the glass. Honestly, maybe my second favorite nose among the batch. But the palate maybe just lacked a little bit of the punch of some of the others on the table tonight. So it was a little half notch below, but certainly spectacular whiskey. Let's see what it was. Okay. It's the Michter's 10 Rye. Definitely gave me the impression of a rye, so not unexpected here. Beautiful nose. So good. The whiskey itself is delicious. It has way more power than the 92 proof that they bottled this at. So definitely worth the $200 I spent on it this year. It's one of those unicorn bottles for a reason. Delicious stuff, but did fall maybe a little short on the palate just compared to the heavy hitters we've got still on the table. Okay, so third place. This was probably the hardest to pick. I really struggled between second and third place. I actually flip-flopped them at the very end. So keep that in mind as I talk about these whiskeys. But for me, ultimately in third place was Glass B. I felt like the nose was very good. And the palate with that brown sugar cookie experience, a little bit of spice and heft to it, delicious. Ultimately, it just came down to what did I enjoy more. And this sip had a little bit of aggression at times that docked it a slight bit below the others. So really, really great nose, really, really great palate, but didn't quite ascend to the level of these other two that are on the table. Let's see what it was. Okay, that's the maker's mark. This really came close to being second. Like, I was really enjoying sipping on it all night long here. It's delicious. I have compared this to the 2023 version, and I think the palate is better on this one. Maybe the nose is a touch above on the 2023, but the palate here with that sugar cookie brown sugar experience for me, just delicious. Like, this is spectacular. I hope that Maker's Mark keeps doing these releases because they're awesome. Okay, that leaves us with these two, A and D. You heard me early in the video say that A had a spectacular nose, was probably leading there, and D had a spectacular palate and was probably leading there. That didn't really change much. The story didn't really develop much in terms of which was leading in which category. A has one of the best noses I've ever smelled in my life. As it's opened up, way more oak. This like furniture store, 50s, 60s oak dustiness really comes through, and it's just all cherry. So I think there's a little bit of a citrus pop, maybe like an orange along with the cherry that threw me off. I honestly thought this could be a rye at some point, but now it's all oak and cherry and orange and maybe a little bit of raisin. It's just, the nose is spectacular. The nose on D is oaky as well, maybe even a little bit darker and denser than glass A. Has a little bit of aggression to it though. So that was maybe the slight knock on glass D compared to glass A. Then we go into the palate. The palate on glass A, very sippable and sweet. Caramel all the way through with that oak, kind of peppery spice and leather. It's wonderful. But honestly, the palate on glass D might just be the best thing I've ever tasted. The oak is exceptional. There's pancakey brown sugar, and there's this deep, rich black cherry power to it that is undeniable. So ultimately for me today, we're gonna reveal our whiskey of the year. It was glass D. Just could not be beat because of that palate and the finish, but glass A came mighty close with a wonderful nose and a very, very good palate. Let's see what they are. We'll reveal our winner. Whiskey of the Year 2024 is, all right, Russell's Reserve 15, which means our second place is Old Fitzgerald 13 year. I mean, I'm just so lucky to have both of these bottles. They're just so wonderful in their own ways. Give me the nose on Old Fitz. Spectacular, weeded profile, wonderful. And then just, I wish I had a second one of these Russells. I wish I had a backup because the juice inside, what it tastes like is, it's so rich, it's so good, it's so oaky, but in the best way possible. And the fruit, and I neglected to mention one of the biggest notes that I got from this one was like a peanut brittle power to it as well. So along with that black cherry, it's just undeniable how good that palate is. And I know I'm kind of contributing to just the hype around this one and the whiskey of the year hype train that's generated, but it's truly special stuff, guys. It's just so spectacular. All right, that's gonna do it, everybody. I really want to thank you if you've been joining the Bourbon Hutch for this entire bracket challenge and following along as we've tasted all these whiskeys. It's so good to celebrate and think through all the best whiskeys of 2024. It's been a blast for me. Hope you've enjoyed the ride. Let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite moment of the series? Or maybe, how did you expect this kind of blind matchup to go? And did it kind of match your expectations. If you've tasted any of these, I'd be curious to know which your favorite is as well. While you're at it, hit the like button on this video. That gets it out to the most people. Let's celebrate this great whiskey with more people. And then if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Bourbon Hutch. Hopefully I'll be creating a lot more great content for you guys, a lot like this, but we're gonna explore the world of whiskey even more in 2025, and it's gonna be awesome. So hope you'll join me. Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.